Walk into any local movie theater on a Tuesday afternoon, and you will likely find yourself surrounded by hundreds of empty seats. Across the entire industry, the mathematical reality of the modern multiplex is bleak. The average occupancy rate hovers at a mere 15 to 20%. And of that tiny fraction of paying customers, Hollywood studios contractually siphon off roughly half of the box office revenue for themselves. In most industries, a retailer with an 80% vacancy rate would immediately lower prices to stimulate demand and fill those empty chairs. But theaters cannot. The studios enforce strict price maintenance contracts, actively prohibiting exhibitors from dropping ticket prices. For decades, the standard exhibition business relied on exactly the opposite math, packing the house to the rafters and surviving on high-volume ticket sales. But with margins squeezed and occupancy capped, selling tickets became a losing game. To survive these hostile economics, theaters quietly stopped operating in the business of film exhibition and re-engineered themselves to become captive retail environments. From the outside, a modern multiplex looks like a sprawling entertainment center. In practice, it is a purpose-built efficiency engine designed specifically to combat low margins. The architecture relies on a hub-and-spoke model. Multiple separate screens all feed into one central bottleneck, drastically reducing overhead. By staggering the start times of the films, management ensures the crowds never peak all at once. This allows a single concession staff and one cleaning crew to service every auditorium consecutively, stripping labor costs down to the absolute minimum. This structural efficiency scales up to create a spatial monopoly. By building massive multi-screen venues, a single company can absorb all the geographic demand in a given suburb. This data scatter plot from a study on retail spatial competition shows exactly how isolated these markets get. Because they effectively capture all local demand, major cinema chains face absolutely zero local competition in up to 67% of their geographic locations. Without a rival theater down the street to steal customers, the dismal 20% occupancy rate is no longer a fatal flaw. It becomes a highly controlled, captive environment ripe for monetization. That monetization happens at the concession stand. This is the theater's true, unshared profit center, where 100% of the revenue stays in the building. The retail economics driving this stand are extreme. A standard bucket of popcorn carries a profit markup of roughly 900%. To maximize how much you spend, theaters rely heavily on a behavioral economics principle known as decoy pricing. Notice the intentionally narrow price gap on the menu. The theater sets the price of a small or medium popcorn at nearly $4, but prices the massive large bucket just a few cents higher. That tiny price difference manipulates consumer perception. Instead of feeling like you are overpaying for corn kernels, the pricing structure makes the most expensive, highest margin item feel like the smartest value. The survival of the entire complex relies on successfully funneling the captive audience through this specific psychological pricing trap. The industry eventually accepted a permanent reality. That baseline 15 to 20% occupancy rate is never going to significantly increase. So the business strategy shifted. If you cannot rely on the volume of people walking through the door, you have to maximize the yield, extracting the highest possible amount of money per head. This strategic pivot caused a rapid industry-wide architectural redesign. Theaters began tearing out traditional seating to install massive leather recliners and premium upgrades. At first glance, removing half the seats in an auditorium seems mathematically disastrous. But if 80% of those seats were historically empty anyway, the theater loses zero ticket revenue by ripping them out. In their place, theaters integrated dine-in services, bringing full meals and alcohol directly to the seats. This drastically extends the high-margin retail interaction time well past the lobby, keeping customers spending money in the dark. The movie playing on the screen is merely the bait. The theater itself operates as a perfectly engineered spatial monopoly designed to trap and monetize a captive audience.